I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a detailed look at the Sea to Summit X Seal and Go container set, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up so we can keep helping you find the right gear. Let's dive in. So we have two different size sets here. This one here is the small and this is the large. In between them, you do have four different sizes here, and they kind of cover all the bases. So we have the small, medium, and then large and extra large. And these two on the top here they're like cups, and then down here are the bowls. So I'll kind of get into what they end up looking like. But in general, in terms of materials, they're pretty straightforward. So this on the outside here is actually a pretty stiff nylon. So you can see there's actually a base as well, and it doesn't have a ton of flex to it or anything like that. So these are fairly structured, which is nice if that's something that you're looking for, especially with a bowl design like this. And then the actual cups, I guess, or bowls you could say themselves, are a silicone. So starting off with this guy here, this is the cup, and you just sort of grip this center bit. And it works a lot better with the small one. I'll kind of show you how I do it when I get to the larger size, but these just pop open super easy, and then you can use it for whatever you really want. So you can put like trail mix in here, or I put like a caramel sauce that I was taking home from an event. So I wanted a little bit of a leftover, so I put it in here, and it felt pretty secure. When you have this closed here, you can't really see any bit of a gap, but you can on this larger size here. I guess side by side, you can see that there is a little bit of a difference, and that did make a difference. So that made me a little bit more weary to put anything super liquid in here. I mostly kept it like pastas or like leftovers like that. Whereas here, it is, I guess, technically a cup, so it is sealed a little bit better. But I kept, if I was gonna do like a liquid or something, I would stick to this size here. So it is just a pretty basic threading on the inside there, and the design itself is fairly simplistic. So looking at this bowl here, you just sort of grip your fingers in here, open it up that way, expand it out, and then you've got a bowl shape. So they're similar sizes. This one's a little bit taller, but this does have a base on the bottom, whereas this one does not. And this adds stability, which is really nice because it is that wider shape. You can see that there are a little bit of, there's a few scratch marks on the inside there. It's just more of like a blemish than anything. It's not actually damaged. They don't recommend using like a knife in here, which I would also say that I recommend. I mean, this is just from like stirring my pasta up with a spoon, right? So if that's gonna do that, you don't wanna add any extra scraping or things like that. But they are dishwasher and microwave safe, so if you do want to toss, leftovers or something like that in the microwave, it's super easy for that. Just make sure you vent this top first. And then as well, on the sides of all of the bowls, you can't really see it super well on this one. Let me try with this one here. You can see that they do have like little tick marks. Yeah, so it's like a quarter or 3/4 cup there. And then it just sort of goes down, and then on the other side they have metric. So each one of those does have that, but if you want a quicker reference, it is on the bottom as well. So it's a little bit tough to see, but you can see it's like 7.2 fluid ounces on this one, and then on this largest one here, it's actually 29 fluid ounces. So looking at the sort of size difference between the two of them, they do slot into each other. These two slot into each other, and then these two slot into each other. There's no slotting between the two sizes here, which is a little inconvenient just if you do want to stack. There's no like easy way to stack everything up, but this is that same cup design. And this one I found a little bit harder to open, like I mentioned, with this middle part. So I would usually just grip it along the sides and just kind of like get it to open. But I did have a lot of trouble with it, as you can see I am currently having. So that's just sort of unfortunate that I actually cannot get this open right now. I didn't usually have that much trouble. There we go. So it does get pretty tight. I mean, I think a lot of it determines like is determined by how you thread them in. So if it's not perfect when you make that like first twist, then you do kind of back yourself into a corner. But in terms of sizing, this is, you know, how these look side by side. And then this one here looks side by side with this one as well. So they are, you know, fairly similar, at least in terms of design, they're the same, but depending on what size you need, there's a few different options for you. So there's also these little tabs on the base here, and those just act as a sort of like grip when you're opening it. It's a little bit of extra leverage. As far as I can tell, there's no other use for them, but that is very handy just because I don't have the largest or strongest hands in the world, so I do need that extra grip when I'm going to be closing this, and it kind of gives me like a little bit of balance when I try and slot in that perfectly well. But like I mentioned, you can see a little bit of a gap, and depending on how you twist it, I mean, right now you can tell that it's a tight seal. As I'm squeezing it, that air's not going anywhere. But if you were to just be like a little bit off or not as tight, I don't know if I can even do it on command, but I'm wondering if that'll do it. Oh yeah, so that's not quite as tight, and you can tell I can just deflate it on its own. So definitely be a little bit more cautious when you are filling these with liquid, because if you don't seal them perfectly, like anything that, you know, requires a seal that's holding liquid, water bottles even are the same way. If you don't seal them properly, then you do put yourself at risk of having a little bit of a leaking issue. So there you have it, the Sea to Summit X Seal and Go container sets. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.